Welcome to Thursday Night Knives. It's Bob the Knife Junkie DeMarco. That cheesy opening was done for this. I'm a fool for this knife, but we're going to get to that in a minute. I'm your host, Bob DeMarco. Welcome to Thursday Night Knives. Tonight, I'm flying solo. I was going to be joined by Alex Tissot, and then he's got some responsibilities to take care of. And the thing was, I was very interested to have a pocket check with Alex on this particular night because my suspicion is very strong that Jock's Knife, good to see you, sir, from across the shock. I suspect that tonight we were going to have the same knives in our pocket for our pocket check, which is a rare, if will probably never happen again sort of thing because of the way he rolls and the way I roll. But it's intersecting right now with this amazing new exclusive DLT trading company, Hinderer XM-18. We'll get to that later. But tonight we're going to talk about something Buck is doing. We're going to talk about a everyday commentary article that got my mind going. We're going to talk about the new Topps short sword, a therapeutic edge. Nice to have you, sir. Greetings to you. This new Kuma Kage. It's the short sword from Topps that came out that is by Wei-sun Johnny Sai, and it's inspired by the Cobra. Not Cobra, the G.I. Joe Ninja from G.I. Joe. Now, forgive me, I think that's Snake Eyes. That cartoon was a little bit after my time. I didn't watch it, and the characters, not too fluent with them. We're going to talk about that, and then we're going to talk about this new Hinderer that I have. And then I want to talk a little bit about some of the concepts that were brought up in the Everyday Commentary article. Dave, it's nice to have you, sir. You might be interested in this new Topps short sword, or you might find it ridiculous. It might be covering too many bases for you. We will find that out. And then later, a knife fight. Man, it was going to be slip joint versus friction folder. And maybe, just maybe, one of you out there who has a smartphone and an internet connection wants to come on and debate me about slip joint versus friction folder in, let's say, 45 minutes time or so. It's simple. You just go to theknifejunkie.com/join. You give it access to your mic and your camera, and you come on and you debate me. And we talk about slip joints versus friction folders. It's very formal around here. So, please be sure to dress appropriately. And everyone else, please be sure to comment. Let me know that you're here, you're thinking about knives tonight, and let me know what's on your mind, and let me know what's new, and let me know what you had in your pocket today. This is a pocket check. It's going out to all of you out there. Today, I had this No-choil. That's the real USP of this particular Hinderer. It's that No-choil right there. So this is an M390 No-choil XM-18 on the tri-way pivot, as you can see right there. This is my very first exposure. Geez, man, it's very acute. This is my first exposure to the tri-way pivot, and I really, really love it. Now, I'll tell you, when it showed up, I was thinking I was going to do like kind of the hardcore thing and be like, I'm taking the bearings out, and I'm going with the phosphor bronze, because if you're really going to hard use your knives, you got to go that route. However, man, on these bearings, it's dreamy action, and it's super solid. And one thing I always do is kind of hold the knife like this and kind of look with light through the pivot and see how many bearings are kind of exposed. And this, you can see that it's on bearings, so dust can get in there, grit, muck, gunk, and other such detritus can get in there when it's in your pocket. But still, this thing is so robust, I have no doubt it's going to be able to handle anything. Capara and the new in pocket. Oh, my Carta Proper. Nice. Victorinox classic. Well, you got to have a classic somewhere about you. Maybe not on your body, but in your bag. The Capara, I've heard that is a very excellent kitchen knife. Is that true? I'm not sure. Some people do a lot of kitchen preparation with their folding knives. I sometimes do, just to kind of see what the knife is really like, edgewise with certain materials. And but on the whole, I tend to use my kitchen knives. Excuse me. So That being said, hey, sir, crazy knife freak, Peter B. Nice to have you, sir. It's good to have you, indeed. So we just did a pocket check. Everyone, yeah, there is a bit of a choil, but it's not. Okay, all right. No choil like that. So you look at this is the XM-24 and this is the XM-18, both Wharncliffes. And if you look at that, they almost have the exact same cutting edge. This just has a lot more of a, it's a finger choil that you can really choke up on. And I know, Dave, you're razzing me. That is quite a nice sharpening choil there, but it's not quite enough to get your fingers in. Maybe a tyke. Then again, would you let a tyke carry your XM-18? I don't think so. Today I have my Tucson Jaeger in the pocket, TS80 Jaeger. Now, there seem to be a lot of Tucson models, and I'm not fluent in their what they are, but I know I've seen a lot of really cool Wharncliffes from them. And at some point, I'm going to be borrowing one from Jared Neves, and hopefully it's a Wharncliffe because I love those. And man, they just look nice. Skiff Culprit. Oh, what is that? I know that is like it's new and it's hot. Someone explain, preferably you, sir. Let me know what that is. It'll jog my memory, which needs it. In the pocket, Reich M3. Now, Dave, is that a heavily sculpted Reich? Some of the Reichs you see look like insects or skeletons, reptiles, and stuff like that. I think that sculpting is pretty impressive. Yes, the Capara and the Proper are both great food preppers. I do like the Proper. Mine is in pieces over there. I tried to dye the red, rather unattractive red G10 handles, and it failed miserably. And I just took apart the knife, and I kind of lost interest. That was going to be the thing that was going to get me to want to keep the knife. And then once the first dye job was a Charlie Foxtrot, I didn't even have the heart to put it back together, but I will, I swear. Just finished work in the middle of the day to hear you. Nice to have you, Matthew Lee. I just recorded a video and mentioned you in it because we were talking a little bit about the resilience. I guess you were in the back catalog of videos and you're looking at my resilience video. And so I did a collection selection. I've started doing those again. Inspired by this and other things, of course, but I recorded a video showing off what I did to my resilience. That's what I was getting at with that long 8CR13 MOV blade. That was another knife I wanted to get rid of, but I didn't figure I could get any money for it. And I didn't quite want to give it away because it's so incredibly smooth and beautifully built. And but something about that blade has always been a turnoff, though very thin, slicey, and has a nice performance. I turned it into a, well, you'll see, Matthew. James, Culprit, yes. Tie handle with great milling, beautiful hand rub drop point with great swedges, impeccable build, super smooth action, nice handle on the hardware. Sounds good. I mean, okay, so I'm going to want to get your, ProTech Magic too. ProTech is awesome. I'm going to be talking, well, we'll get to that when it happens. Amateur Knives was carrying the JG Scout and the Strider PT. That's a nice lineup there, man. That Scout, which blade? I'm curious. Yeah, Strider PT is a fantastic knife. Carrying the Formax Scout today, barely fits in my hand. Is that because your hand is so giant it's like puny, or is it because it's too big? Question. So Matthew, yeah, you'll like it. It's pretty cool. It's my desk knife at work. I'm pretty confident no one from work watches this. So I'll say Skiff made blades. Right. Father grinds, finishes the blade, son sees. That is cool. I love the father-son. Okay, I'm going to have to reach out to them. And well, I'm going to learn more about them and get them in my blood a little bit and start desiring one of their knives, which I'm sure I will once I start to get into them, and then reach out to them. I should be reaching back out to Northam Arms. Is that right? North Arm Knives, the guys who make the father and son team who make the Skaha and the Skaha 2, incidentally. They said to get back to them in April 2020, last year. I still have to get back to them. I've fallen behind in my correspondences. If anyone out there has fallen victim to that, sorry, and I'll get back to you as soon as I can. Anyway, so I wanted to talk about the Ultimate Steel. You know, the Ultimate Steel. It's Knife Rights. Yes, Thursday Night Knives. Spirited Whiskey. It's good to have you, sir. Speaking of whiskey, I don't have any whiskey, but I had a little bit of Pisco before this started. It's a nice Bolivian firewater, and yeah, it was a tasty treat. Left for 10 o'clock Thursday nights Eastern Standard Time. So the Ultimate Steel, that's Knife Rights annual fundraiser and fund drive, and it's not just a give money and get a t-shirt kind of thing. This is the kind of fundraiser where in various tiers you give money, and your chances for winning an outstanding prize just for doing that is really high. A lot of makers donate their knives. A lot of companies donate knives en masse, and then a lot of private citizens donate a knife to the cause. I believe Epic Snuggle Bunny is donating a SOG Terminus this year or something like that, and each blade has that year's Ultimate Steel logo on there. And really what you're getting is you are getting another year of Doug Ritter out there, devoted and like a pit bull with these legislators going around changing antiquated knife laws. And without him, we would need to find someone as devoted as him to get as far as we're getting right now. And obviously, that's not an easy thing to do. Doug Ritter is a knife world treasure, and we all love his knife designs and also the efforts that he puts forth in Knife Rights. So please, if you can, go and drop a buck. This is a weird time to be pushing that. But if you can, do it. If you can't, my last year was my first year, and I've been aware of them for a long time. So, no judgments here. If you can do it, do it. And another thing about the Ultimate Steel, if you were with us at all during the town hall on April 18th on Saturday, we had a number of great guests, and a couple of them donated a couple of things to the town hall, to the channel. And so I said, well, even though I would love to keep these things for myself, because, Junkie is in my name, on my screen name. But I said, we'll auction these off and send the proceeds to Knife Rights. And those words came out of my mouth before I could stop them. And there they got out. And so I was like, okay, I have to do it now. I am not going to accept this beautiful super CQC7 from Stone and Steel with the gorgeously chisel ground blade. I'm a sucker for a chisel ground blade these days, not just the edge. This is from 2013. It's unused, but you can tell, you can tell it has been opened at a few gun shows. Stone and Steel caters to gun shows up in the Northeast. This is a behemoth. It is beautiful. It's got a giant handle. It's a 5 1/4 inch handle and 3 3/4 inch Tanto blade. So we're going to be auctioning this off probably next week. I was just doing a whole bunch of research today on how to run a successful Instagram auction. It's going to happen on Instagram. We will promote it a couple more times so that we get ahead of steam. And then it will be about 12 hours long, probably. I'm not going to do a multi-day one. My research shows that you don't benefit much from that, apparently. So I just want to raise some money for these beautiful knives, for this beautiful knife, and I will send it out to you and send the proceeds to Ultimate Steel. And Doug Ritter knows all about this and what's going on. I kind of made him aware of it so I wouldn't pull a fast one on him, not knowing it, because sometimes I'm like two people inside, have these little arguments. Bob, don't do that. Okay, so then the other thing we got, the other donation came in from Bob Terzuola, none other than, and he generously donated 3 items. First is this is the second edition of his classic book, The Tactical Folding Knife, and about a third of it is new because a fair amount of things had changed or his process had evolved in the time since he had written the first edition. But I mean, he shows you soup to nuts how to make one of his knives, you know, if you have the machines. But he does everything by hand. I mean, it's pretty amazing. I mean, by hand and machine. So this book, and he sent one of his beautifully milled and intricate titanium bottle openers, and that's his logo. It's kind of a Japanese Chinese dragon. Oh no, maybe this is more like a Aztec dragon. I don't know. I'm not sure, but it's beautifully anodized in bright green, and you get a little certificate of authenticity. And then thirdly, this is all going to be one lot, the Terzuola lot. And then he's got the mass drop. This is called the CTF. It's compact tactical folder, and it's a nice little knife, and it's made by We, and you know, it's got the We quality, and it's got this tiny little flipper, and it works beautifully. Look at that. Got the classic Terzuola lines. This thing is cool. This like dip here. You see this in a couple of other of his knives that are in production, and a beautiful sculpted titanium clip that's been bronzed. So that will be one lot, and then we'll do the super CQC7. It will be nice. It will be fun, and we'll get those out to you. And everything I send out, I put an alcohol pad in just in case you don't trust me, and you can take that out, and then you can trust me. Well, Bob, I've officially been bitten by the Tom Mayo bug. Oh my God! Grab my third custom Mayo. This time, 6000 Stellite covert model. 6K, or is that 6000 Stellite covert model? Impervious to corrosion. I don't know what that looks like. I love Tom Mayo's designs though, and if I had someone to bounce this off of, I'd go off in a little Google Images hole and find that out. I think Tom Mayo's stuff is insanely, well, beautiful and simple. He's got one of those. So I was speaking with someone today who I'm going to be interviewing shortly, and we had an interesting conversation. And part of that revolved around the idea of there are some designs and designers whose knives naturally resonate with you without thought. And then there are other designers who you got to think about their work a little bit. And then once you think about it and conceptualize it, then it's interesting. So definitely not one of those kind of things. Anyway, off to the next thing. I wanted to ask everyone out there. Okay, so this just showed up, as I mentioned. So you have this beautiful knife, right? How does it feel to you? Do you care when a knife like this comes in a white cardboard box with peanuts like this? I mean, to me, it doesn't bother me because I don't really I don't use the box as much. Well, this is what I love. This thing came with the extra. That's all the extra pivots and everything. I know you've all seen the Tri-Way, but to me, this is something new and something cool and beautiful. But this box is so kind of plain, and I kind of like it. And this I want to show in direct contrast to the Medford I got recently, which came in a white box, similar white box, USA made. You open it up, and what's in there? A Pelican case. Oh my God, a Pelican case and a dog tag describing what it is or where it was made. And wouldn't you know, it's, you know, this thing. I don't need this either. This is cool. I mean, don't get me wrong. It's nice to spend a lot of money and then get something like this, because this packaging, relatively speaking, costs a lot of money. But I kind of opened it up. I was like, oh, I don't need all that. I mean, you just sent me this awesome knife, you know. But anyway, is that important to you all? Does anyone really care about that? Does anyone really know what time it is? Spirited whiskey. Oh, Stellite is not a steel. Oh, yeah. Okay. Cobalt chromium tungsten alloy. Holds edge 10 times longer than any modern steel, however, only. Okay. It'll roll. So it's soft. You can only get it as hard as 47 Rockwell. 10 times, holds an edge 10 times longer than modern steel, but you can only get it to 47. That's interesting. That's a mind blower. So it's rust proof and corrosion proof. Spirited whiskey. Do you live in a excuse me, do you live in a place where that's an issue, or is that just a feature that is interesting to you as a collector slash user? I would rather put the money into the knife, not the box. All right, so that's kind of where I am too. And also, there's guilt associated with getting rid of packaging. You want to keep it if you think you might get rid of it, but you know, you don't want to throw away a Pelican case. And then you got to store it. Charles, yes, it's more than fine. It's not wasting. There's reason on extra packaging thrown. Yeah. It's true. I think it's a question when you're a collector or someone whose knives are moving in and out of your collection with some regularity. Then it's sort of expected when you buy like this Emerson. I don't know if I mentioned it, but I should. The Emerson that's going up for auction has no box. And it was kind of shocking to get a knife that you can tell from looking at the G10, you know, and the way it feels hasn't been carried. But still it has no box. And that was a weird thing. Another knife guy. Hello, sir. NAF guy. I just saw your core collection video. I liked it a lot. I really don't care about packaging at all. I feel superfluous packaging. Yeah. Yes. Sort of agreed. I used to rag on my wife for keeping the boxes of things. And then I got really into knife collecting and started keeping the boxes. And she rightly so pointed out my hypocrisy. And, I said, well, your things are giant and the boxes are huge. My things are small and the boxes are small. So I won that argument, because that's what's important. Obviously, I didn't. Jim, can you put the last comment back up? I'm sorry, I went off on a little jag, and then I want to see what Jackson has. Someone bitching about that on if the knife is solid and damage free, I could care less. Well, good. You want to buy a CQC7? Just kidding. Yeah, that's kind of how I feel about it. Kind of. As a matter of fact, I sold someone, a good friend of mine, a knife, and then he didn't want it, or I could tell he wasn't using it, and I wanted it back. So I bought it back from him, but he had gotten rid of the box in the meantime. And I was kind of like, that's what I get. Serves me right. Okay, Pelican cases are dope, but in the end, you're paying for it, and it's not like he's eating that cost. Yeah, well, that's for sure. That's going into the cost of it. So maybe, just maybe, as a maker, you create the boxless option, and it just sort of comes in a bubble wrap envelope, and you knock off $100. I would go for that. Wife is pushing to have me get rid of 150 knife boxes downstairs. Huh. Dave, do you have them in the storage boxes discreetly? I don't know, man. I wouldn't do it. That might be not a hill to die on, obviously, but that might be something to, they say choose your arguments. That might be one. That might be one to choose. I keep all the boxes for the reason of later selling or trading. Me too. If it never came with packaging with beginning, you know what? You're right. It's a non-issue, but I used to be so nerdy about it. I would keep the clam shell packages. Like if I got something at Walmart, I'd keep that. Like anyone wants to receive the secondhand blur that you got, that you're buying all chipped up in one of those. I got an 800 Demco in a plain white box with a logo. Oh, $800 Demco. The knife was in bubble wrap. I didn't care the slightest. That is gorgeous, by the way. If it's the same one that you had in that video with the tooled yoke and the titanium handle, really, really nice 8015 he has. If you didn't check out, I think it's episode 27 interview with Andrew Demko. Definitely check that out. Jim, can you put that last one up, please? Justice Fell. What's up, everybody? Hey, Justin, how you doing, sir? Welcome. Okay, here's a cool thing I want to mention, and then another cool thing I want to mention. Okay, the first cool thing is Buck Knives. I just saw a press release from Buck Knives, and I'll just read it to you pretty quickly. Buck Knives is extending its online discount program to all the heroes that are working the front lines to keep our community safe during the COVID-19 crisis. Buck Knives is proud to extend the industry partner discount program to men and women in the healthcare industry. The discount applies to doctors, nurses, CNAs, technicians, technologists, health administrators, EMS, and support staff. The discount offers up to 50% of a full range of products. For full eligibility information, visit Buck Knives healthcare discount. How cool is that? I love that. I mean, to me, that's that's people looking out for people. That's industry looking out for people, incidentally, also. And to me, even the big companies, like, well, maybe I don't want to speak out of school because I don't really know what I'm talking about there. But I've seen a number of companies step up, and I think Buck Knives doing that is very cool, because there are a lot of people out there who rely on their tools, and right now we are relying on them. So it's smart and it's cool. Thank you, Buck Knives. Good move on your part. The other cool thing I wanted to mention is the new short sword from Topps. Have you seen that? That's out now. Joe Stryker. Packaging is a no, but okay. Yes, I agree. I do like something like that, a maker signature, or like, to me, the Terzuola thing with the little signature card. That's cool. I mean, it's a little titanium bottle opener, but it's beautifully made, and God, they must charge a bit for it. So to see his signature and his little handwritten scribe date on it is pretty cool to me. I wanted to talk about the Kumakage. I mentioned that before. That is the new Topps knives. It's a short sword. It really is. It's got it's the full length of it's 24 inches. Okay. And that's the length of the preferred length of the rattan stick that its designer, Wei-sun Johnny Sai, likes to use when he's doing kali and kicking butt with sticks and machetes. So he built this thing to his specs as a practitioner. I can't remember. He's got an interesting, I think, Siho or Sijo, something like that. That's his title in martial arts. I'm not sure what that means. But look at this thing. Okay, so it's the length he prefers and the length he's used to. It's got a down towards the butt. That's it's called the puño. That's the part, that people don't expect to get hit with. So he added a little extra zing to the puño there, and then he's got this long blade with that widens out at the tip, and it sort of has an axe-like quality to it, but it most definitely has a sword-like quality to it. It's based on Wei-sun Johnny Sai is apparently a big G.I. Joe fan. The Kuma, which was an earlier design of his, was something that was designed by him and ended up in the G.I. Joe comic books, and I believe in the movie. And this is going to do the same thing. This is going to go in the hands of Snake Eyes. I'm sorry, my G.I. Joe characters are a little bit off. Kumakage from Topps. Yeah. That's right. Look at it. Gorgeous. Yeah, they just came out with it. It just went up on the Topps website, their little press release. But I guess Craig Powell and Leo Espinoza had a little bit of a design influence on it, and it also looks, incidentally, like you can sharpen the last 8 inches or so. Sharpen the last back 8 inches or so. It looks like that swedge is built for that. Anyway, this is right up my alley. I think it's totally cool, and they didn't want to make just a short sword or weapon, so they have ensured through video proof and that kind of thing. That it is great in the bush. I saw a video recently where they went out and hacked down a couple of dead trees out in Utah or Idaho. I think they're in Idaho. Interesting sword, but very un-Filipino design. Agreed. It's a very comic book design in a way. I mean, not comic book like it's not going to work or like it's cheesy, but it's got a little bit of that like flair. Yeah. Anyway. It's kind of a Pinoy in design. What does that mean? What part of the Philippines or Southeast Asia are you talking about when you say that? I read it and I sort of feel like I know what it means, but in that and kind of being sitting here and with a light in my face and kind of on the spot, I can't admit I know exactly what you're saying. Could you please elaborate? And it'll be sort of good for me. I feel like it has something to do with these kind of like Pinoy. Well, describe it, please. I'm being a little caught up on it. So yeah, I'm going to get that. Well, I'm not going to get that because I have a lot of other things I'd like to get. But I'd love to get my hands on it. I'm no Filipino producer. Okay. All right. Thank you. Just shut up, dude. It just means Filipino. All right. That's what I thought. Yeah, that's what I thought. I was just making sure you felt that way. So I would like to get my hands on something like that just to see what it's like. Looks like it's going to be awful heavy. I know they drilled some holes in it, and half-inch stock for real. I'm sure it's quarter-inch stock, but they added some fullers in the blade, and they added some holes in the handle to lighten up the whole affair. So we'll see what that's like. There are a lot of other Tops knives I would get first, but there is another knife that I am totally, if I'm going to buy a fixed blade and spend a lot of money on, there's another knife that's kind of wormed its way into my brain. And actually, I didn't tell Jim about this, so he doesn't have a picture for it. But if anyone knows Dervish knives, I love their Ursa Major and their Ursa Minor, but I would love to have an Ursa Major. Sometime when you have a moment and you're near an internet machine, check it out. The Dervish knives, Ursa Major, like Big Bear. So cool. So cool. It's kind of to me, it's like, well, I don't know. Check it out. See what you think. But it's cool. I assure you. I wanted to talk about something else. I read an interesting article, Everyday Commentary. Anthony, I can't remember his last name. I have to admit, I've heard of Everyday Commentary, and I've seen a few videos here and there, but he really caught my attention with this, and I'm definitely going to pay more attention to him. A, he's an outstanding writer, but B, he wrote a really interesting article that I think I got it through Knife Magazine, through their news feed. Knife Magazine I did. And he is talking about how the EDC market is going to change with the COVID-19 crisis. And he has a really interesting breakdown, and it's kind of, it sort of struck at my heart when I read it. That sounds so dramatic. But what I mean is, he had a very interesting, and it seemed like very well thought out analysis of how he sees this market that we love changing and how it's going to affect knife makers. And it's not going to be pretty, and everyone knows that, but he kind of laid it out in a simple and interesting manner. And he mentions that as we know from other things, like sales of yachts and Bugattis and stuff like that never drop. Like, even in the midst of a crisis, the people who are buying those things are fine. They have enough money to ride it out, and they're still buying their yachts. But as Jim just highlighted there, that's actually pretty interesting. We'll get to that in a second. But some of other knives who aren't in the super, super high-end rarefied era of custom knives, who are, making custom knives in the middle tier, are going to suffer, as are production companies that are making knives in the $500 to $1,000 range in production knives. So it's just kind of interesting. So here, stop right there, Jim. Okay. He's talking about how there will be a resurgence of interest in fixed blade knives, or he says like that interest will not dip, because people will be more sort of prepping minded, a little more survival minded, and a little less pocket jewelry minded. And when I say pocket jewelry, I am not belittling the knives that I like to make fun of, only because I don't own any of them. But the ones with the super fancy materials and stuff like that. Those are things that a lot of people are not likely to want to rely on, in tough times. You want something maybe more austere, more capable, and more across a broader, across a broader category of and such like that. So I don't know. This article was interesting to me. Let's see. What are you seeing? I see the stuff with practical preparedness, focused designs doing okay. Post COVID-19, it's easier to justify a knife that could be used in an emergency and is nice, like an SE4 or a K-bar BK16. Yes, that's interesting. Luckily, my collecting aesthetic, rough and tumble, big, heavy duty knives, they don't seem so frivolous in an emergency, you know? So it's not like a Reich knife. No, I'm just kidding. That was a poke, Dave. Mark Ridgewell, I feel like knives are alive and well. Well, I do too. I do too. If you look at and right now, we just don't know kind of how things change. And I am not in the realm of custom knives collecting. I have a couple, but I'm not a collector, and I don't. So it would be interesting to get, yes, like someone like Spirit Whiskey because market will sustain. Basic production will sustain. High-end production will likely suffer. Yes, actually, that is basically what it boils down to in his article. Except he mentions the midline custom makers might suffer too, or new up and coming custom makers in that realm. The rich get richer, the poor get poorer. It's the economic regime we live under. We need to dream a new dream. Charles Cha. That was nice. I don't know, man. I don't know what we need. That might be it. That might be a start. My reliable bug out fixed blade is my Microtech Crosshair. Ooh, that's a big broad bladed. Is that a dagger? I'm not sure. Remind me of what that is. I think it's a big broad bladed double edged dagger. But I'm not sure. So Charles, in terms of, can you put Charles's last comment back up, please, Jim? Yeah. So how does that, thinking, this from where this comment came from, how does that affect, has that feeling this way right now might be a new way of feeling, or maybe it's not, but has your personal outlook on your consumption of knives, and I don't know what it is. I don't know you personally, Charles, but has it changed? Mine, I would have to say maybe a little more guilt than usual because, I've had a couple of knives come in since all this has happened, and simple, we should all realize post-COVID people before profits, not the other way around. I think that's kind of, how things should always be looked at. I would agree with you there, sir, for sure. Has it changed your collecting outlook? Matthew Lee was looking at it, getting another folder, but ended up getting a fixed blade. It was somehow easier to justify. What did you get, Matthew? Very curious. But yeah, I get that. I get that, I have been we've been doing a lot of fire pits around here. And I have been using my old, it's like 20 some odd years at this point, but my old cold steel Trailmaster Bowie for starting fires. It's awesome, to make kindling. Just, and I pick up the wood at the supermarket. I'm not out there felling trees and splitting wood. I grab one on the way out of, the grocery store, and just split that dried wood really beautifully with that knife, and you can feather stick with it, and yeah, it does make sense. Like it's nice to have a good old sturdy Bowie. Let's see. I have two fixies that stay in my truck bag: an Adventure Sworn Explorer in CPM 3V and a Winkler belt knife. That's a nice knife. I don't know the Adventure Sworn Explorer. I don't think. Oh, wait, is that made by Topps? Is it? Does Topps make it for another company? Curious about that. But the Winkler belt knife. Yeah, I'm more careful with spending money, but the last thing I will do is water, food, and knives. Yeah, yeah. That's good. And then if you get storable food and water, and you kind of have that in the basement, then it can just be knives all the time. Just kidding. Just kidding, baby, if you're listening. Oh, she's not listening. Jock's knife. My change of job from an outdoor one to a hospital-based one has me looking at buying more UK legal slip joints. So, question, Jock's knife. Which knives are you looking at? What do you want? Do you want something that's kind of modern, like the new Real Steel designed by Ostap Hell, or do you want something that's more old school, traditional, like a trap or like a case or a GEC? I'm interested. If you're wearing, let's see, good few knives, the whole thing, it would be without getting a few good knives in this whole thing, it would be, yeah. You know, it's like, if you can, it's whatever you can do. You're not the only, yeah, that's right. I know that's why you're spending this time right now, because yeah, Charles, it's always a pleasure. I like our outspoken guests. I'm always the guy at the at the seminars raising his hand, and it seems like some of you are the same. Where was I going? Oh, with the fixies. Yeah, I someone mentioned a Winkler belt knife. Who was that? Spirited Whiskey, I think. Anyone else have a new fixed blade? I have one that I want to highlight. It's not new, but I've been carrying it a lot recently because my wife's good influence. I've been jogging, running, going into the woods and running on trails recently, and it's a great excuse to strategize about what knife I'm going to carry. And I've been carrying this recently a lot. This is the CRKT Obaki, and it's a beautiful Quaken design, I guess. This is a Lucas Burnley, who ignores my emails, who I'd like to talk to on the podcast, designed this. And I think he did a beautiful job. It's a really nice knife. They make a smaller version of this, which actually might not be bad, because this handle, though great, could do nicely just from nestling it in the palm. Now, this cord wrapped handle, this is an inexpensive knife. I got it Walmart or Dick's Sporting Goods or something like that for under $40. But this cord wrapped handle and fake eel skin or ray skin under there is incredibly grippy. You wouldn't think so, but you know, when no one's looking and I'm out there alone and I'm in a walking phase, I'll yank this out of the sheath and jam it in a tree. A dead tree, people, a dead tree. I'll jam it in the tree, and your hand really stays nicely fastened to these ridges. Great little fixed blade knife. Anyone else get a new fixed blade? So bought the proper. I'm really into Hinderer Slippy and the ZTO Isham Blade Works Black Star. Gorgeous. That is nice. Yeah, I guess so. I guess modern traditional. To me, the proper of all of those is the most traditional. The Hinderer is cool. I like the way it has the thumb disc that slides up and down the groove there, and you can kind of alter whether or not you open it one-handed. I'm not sure if you can have a one-handed knife where you are. Some places I know you can have a locking knife, but not one-handed, and vice versa. Or I don't know. Why do there have to be so many ridiculous laws? You know, we could just stick with some good ones. Edwin, good to have you, sir. Got a fixed blade from Williams. Oh, yes, I've been seeing that a lot. Edwin's been posting this quite a bit. It's a beautiful Quaken from Williams Knives. Edwin, who makes that? Do you know? This is designed by Lee Williams' son, Chris Williams, I believe his name is. Lee Williams is a famed Japanese martial arts expert, master, instructor to special forces, this kind of guy, you know. And but Japanese martial arts, Japanese blade, which is unusual. You hear mostly Filipino these days. Japanese. So all of his designs, he's got a full series of designs with CRKT based on that sort of this sort of shape, the Hisatsu shape. It's sort of like a really long. Well, look them up. They're beautiful. So he has a very definite design aesthetic that you see, that Japanese thing, and his son has sort of taken over the helm a great deal of it, and has made Williams knives, and they're sort of a mid-tech outfit designing. I think they have 3 or 4 knives. One of them is a folder. Nice. Our good friend spacing. Man, I'm spacing. Eugene Kwan did a recent review on the Williams folding knife. It's beautiful. Anyway, Edwin, who makes that damn thing? I'm sorry, I just went off on a little jag. I'm not. Luckily, I am not into flashlights. I feel like I could, if I were someone who could tolerate the extra pocket space. Like if I could give up the extra pocket space, I could get into it. Tell me this, Spirited Whiskey. Tell me if you think this is a good strategy. I have a couple of cheesy little lights, okay, and they work fine, and then they crap out and you throw them away, like little mag lights that go on my. Well, actually, they're not so cheesy. I shouldn't say that. They've lasted a long time. They go on your keychain and all that. I was thinking, since I'm not into flashlights, but I like good kit, maybe what I should do is I want to get a brass one. I can't remember who makes them, but I've seen real little brass ones, but they get super bright and they patina nicely, and they just look like great little things. They look like the old prototype. I don't know if anyone knows what that means, and I'll just leave it at that. But they're these little beautiful little ridged lights with a little clip, and it would go great in a nice little leather slip in your pocket next to a slip joint. I would do that. But a bunch of big flashes. Okay, what do you think of this? I've been seeing a lot about this stiletto light. Spirited Whiskey. Any interest in that? It's interesting looking. I'm not sure if the features are exciting to flashlight people, but tell me what you think of that. Oh my gosh. If anyone knows Gallardo knives, you got to check him out. Oh my God. Joe, congratulations. His knives are gorgeous. I've been following him on Instagram for a few years, and his grinds are gorgeous, and his handles, everything about them, they're beautiful knives. Check those out. Gallardo knives. Man, that's a nice way to roll. Did you say fixed blade? I said Formax Scout. Yeah, I hear that. You won't get much of an argument from me. You know what? Tonight, I put my knife box right next to me so I could access things, and I haven't accessed the damn thing. So I'm going to pull out something at some point. We're talking fixed blade knives. This one is fun. This one is. Now, this is just a beautiful knife. This is a Tops Wild Pig Hunter. So I just randomly pulled this out. We're talking fixed blades. I love how you can kind of see the differential heat treat there on this. They call this river wash, I think. Sort of a clear coat. This thing is incredibly sharp. Tops knives. I love them, and I got a number of them, and I'm starting to feel like, do I sell them off to get one nice, like a Gallardo? I mean, I don't know if I would sell off the big honkers to get a Gallardo. I think those are a little smaller, but Oh, yes. Okay, yes. Got one manufactured by Lion Steel, then another one by TRC Knives that is on the way. Yeah, that Lion Steel one has been getting a lot of press lately. Can't remember what it's called, but it's very nice looking fixed blade. It's got a similar profile to the SR11 Money Stewart. I'm always looking for good flashlights, just not EDC ones. Interesting. Okay. Prometheus Lights makes a nice bronze one like that. Okay. Prometheus. Hang on. Got to write this down. I'm at that kind of age where if I don't write it down, it's like it never happened. Prometheus bronze. Okay. And then, because I love that patina, especially when it gets to like that color. Stiletto light is made by Surefire. Nice, but overly large in today's LED market. Interesting. I thought it looked large. I can't tell what the whole unique selling proposition is of that knife. Is it the shape of it, or it's flat, or I don't know. I guess I gotta look at a video, and I don't mean to sound like a dick, but like I'll watch a flashlight video to find this information out. They just don't capture my imagination because they don't have anything sharp on them. I think that's what it is. Tops VTAC Norseman. What is that? Oh, I know what that is. Those are cool. They came out with 3 in that series. Can you put that back up, please, Jim? The VTAC, I think, is the company, or is it Norseman the company? Tops of VTAC. Yeah, VTAC is the company. The Norseman is the big one. It's kind of a big sax. And then there's if I'm remembering correctly, there's a midline knife that looks like a hunter. You could skin with it. I think it's got a curved blade. And then there's a shorter That's cool. That's a man, and it's made by Tops. It's going to be stout. It's going to be a performer. I love my Tops knives. Trial shot differential heat treats are so appropriate for fixed blades. I think so, because the expectation is you're going to be banging on them a little bit. If it's a camp knife, or that knife, the Wild Pig Hunter, it's presumed that you're going to take that out and jam it into a charging pig, and that's no mean feat. So I think differential heat treat is important on something like that, so the knife can take the shock. Right? We've all seen Forged in Fire, and you see the slow motion video of how the blade steel reacts, and a good heat treat and temper will, you're going to see that knife moving around. You're going to see that blade moving around in slow motion, because it's absorbing that shock. If it's tough, if it's not tough, it shatters and is brittle and useless. So got a couple of other knives recently, and I've been using my Tops Bob. I don't know why that was so hard for me to read. I think I saw my name there. I'm like, huh? Yeah, the Tops Bob. That is a cool knife. Don't have that. But this is kind of, I know it's very different, but to me, this is kind of an outdoorsy small Tops knife. It's got the karambit ring and everything, but it's really a universally useful shaped blade. It's an 1.5 inch thick stock. No, I'm just kidding. It's pretty thin. This is the cut 4. Someone just suggested on one of my videos that it'd be cool to have like a cut 2.5 or something, cut 3 and have a 3-inch blade. This is 4 inches, which to me is ideal. But this would be a great one just to have, because you can stash this easily on your person if you need to. And, it can't be seen. But it's very capable. If say you are taking a walk in the woods and you want to have this on you because, I don't know, you might be felling a sapling to come home and turn into a walking stick, but you don't want people to see you going in with a big outdoor knife. This might work. So I got a couple of other knives here. Let's see. I couldn't agree with you more, Bob. I've been EDCing a flashlight since I was a kid, keychain mini mag light, but spending a lot for one. I spent $1 on LED and it lights up fine. Yeah, I've had bad luck with super cheap ones. I seem to have good luck in the $12 range, and I know all of the people who like flashlights are cringing right now, because I'm sure to you that is super cheap. Yes, and then to you, I guess I look super cheap. Dave Everett got that one too, Bob. Looking for the Tops Viking Norseman. Yes. I you mentioned something about that in one of these recently. Anyway, so this one you might find interesting, Dave in particular. This is a CJRB, and Dave, the reason I think you might think this is interesting is because this is a very, it's an EDC brand. This is the Artisan Cutlery budget brand. Artisan Cutlery is the Lexus. This is the Toyota. And this Toyota is amazing. But the reason I think you might like it is it's very, oh God, it feels great in the hand. It's like perfectly made for this kind of grip, and it's a very, very stout knife. So check it out. But anyway, this knife I got recently. I got this knife recently. I got these on the secondary market, and then the Civivi shredder. They're all kind of in the same. Well, these are about $60, and then this one's about 35. So I guess they're kind of not in the same range, but I wanted to test get a couple of budget knives, and not budget knives, but celebrated less expensive knives of recent days that I've kind of missed out on because I was too busy spending money on other things like more expensive knives. Gotta run, guys. Jock's Knife, have a good one. Thank you so much, man. You be safe too. Take care, man. Civivi shredder, super thin. Spirit Wood just grabbed. Wait, go back to that. I'm sorry. Thank you. What? Flashlight, and it was 600. Whoa. Okay. All right. Okay. Unreal worked. Okay. So now I'm a rube. Now I'm a real babe in the woods. So these are custom made lights, handmade custom lights is what I'm assuming. And in my mind, I never actually went there. In my mind, I only went as far as like high-end production flashlights. But am I right in assuming, Spirited Whiskey, that this is an outfit that makes small batch numbers of handmade and tooled flashlights out of cool materials? You may have piqued my interest, sir. So yeah, I wanted to check out the Bareknuckle. Got a great deal on this on knife forums or blade forums, and I wanted to kind of compare it to the Civivi, which is the same price, made in China, and yes, entirely handmade. That's cool. I can understand that. 650 bucks. I mean, you'll get no judgment from me because I've spent ridiculous money on things that people think are ridiculous, like knives. But so I can get it. I get it. That's cool, man. Is it titanium? Like, what are the materials? I'm curious, actually. Oh, Spartan blades. Okay. All right. No, I have not. So it's Curtis Iovito. Okay. So no, I think their stuff is outstandingly beautiful. A lot of it, some of it designed by Bill Harsey, of course, is Bill Harsey stuff. And to me, he's an incredible, one of my favorite designers. But I have yet to have one. I want to check out the two lamb knife. What is that called? I can't remember what that's called. That was new for 2019, I think. Two lamb. He's a utter badass, and he knows what he's talking about when it comes to knives. And I would definitely like to check that out. And some of their first designs just really spoke to me. One in particular had a very barong feel to it. This is the barong. That's the barong right here, but it's in its sheath, so you can't really see what it looks like right now. But their stuff looks outstanding. I really want to get it, and I love their story. It's two special operator guys who came together. I don't mean to belittle them, call them operator guys, but I really don't know what they were in special forces somewhere, maybe Green Berets, I think, and they came together after their service, and let's fix all those problems with the knives we used. I love that. That's so cool. Necessity being the mother of invention, and these guys knew their business, So what I was getting at was these three knives are cheap relative to what I've been aspiring to spend recently. And I've discovered that they are all really, really, really good knives in their own rights. I have become partial to CJRB over the Civivi. The Civivi is very thinly ground, and I really like that. But it's the liners have been skeletonized to the point where the super light handle and the super thin and super hollow ground light blade makes it almost feel chintzy. And I know that might be a shallow read, but that's how it feels. The CJRB is definitely stouter. It's not it's not skeletonized at all. You're getting just two flat pieces of steel. It's thicker. It's contoured in such a way that is really hand filling. And the milling in this in the G10 is really aggressive. When you first get it, it's almost too much, but it dulls down pretty quickly. And this blade, the shape of the blade is amazing. I mean, to me, it's amazing. I love the way it looks, and it works great. Haven't used it for much except cutting construction paper on cutting mats. So it's not like I was asking a lot of the knife, but I really, really like it. So I'll probably get rid of the shredder. I love it, but you have 15 Civivis. So maybe I save it. See, this is my problem. I'm not running the Bob DeMarco Museum of Knives. I don't need to save a Civivi to represent the brand. I can get rid of it if I don't want it. Just talking to myself. Big Boar, it's good to see you, sir. We're about to head to knife fight, actually. We're about to do a little knife fight, but I got no one to knife fight. I thought someone might jump on with me for a minute to debate slip joint versus friction folder. Spirited Whiskey. Yeah, all hand fit, hand turned out of a billet of tie, Zurich, copper, brass, Mokame. Oh, okay. The one I got tonight is black wash tie billet. Oh man. Yeah, that sounds beautiful. I mean, that sounds like a lot of skill and artfulness went into that. Like a lot of, okay, opening my eyes a little bit. God, yes, the Tala. Oh, good. I think you'll like it. I really do. And yeah, yeah, yeah. It's definitely cool. Now, one that I had save the shredder and get the shard. Then get the shard, put them together. Yeah, right, exactly. That's funny. This knife, the bare knuckle, man, this is a cool knife. I'm late to the party on this one. I at one point came close to getting a 20 CV one, and I'm like, really? Do I really need a 20 CV on this knife? Which I knowingly am probably not going to carry much. This will be actually a good in the waistband carry secondary or tertiary knife because it's nice and thin, and it will look especially cool once it's been riding in the waistband for long enough, and it'll start to wear on this anodizing, and then it'll be all like I've actually used it. Spirited Whiskey, I'll lit up good chrome and hop off for a knife fight. Okay, all right, sir. All right, it'll be nice to meet you in person, and for doing us the honor, you can choose slip joint or friction folder. Water. So yeah, we're gonna have Spirited Whiskey come on. That's awesome. Have to go now. Oh man, I hear you. Thank you so much for showing up, Peter. It's been a pleasure, sir. And come back, check us out next week, same time. Yes, you do need the 20 CV because the cost difference isn't very much. Interesting. But I got this secondhand, and I got this for $40 or $45. So pretty good. And I love the color. The color. I think the 20 CV version of this is $100, right? What is going on here? Remind me later. Got something from work just popped up. Thanks. What's up, gents? Sorry I'm late. What did I miss? Well, Dirk, you missed almost everything, but you're just in time for what will be an outstanding knife fight tonight. We got, looks like Spirited Whiskey's going to jump on, and we're going to debate slip joint versus friction folder. Jim, can you bring that last one back up, please, sir? Nice. Look forward to seeing the knife fight. Thank you. Let's hope. Well, let's hope it. Let's hope I get what I want. I've never actually had a friction folder, so this should be interesting. If I get friction folder, I'm going to have to dig deep into the memory and try and remember what I've heard from others. There is one friction folder that to me looks really appealing, and it is basically. Where did it go? It's a friction folder of this knife, basically. The Dragotac by Bastinelli Creations. This knife, by the way, if you love really large titanium frame lock folders, I mean, this thing is really large. I'll hold it up against, here's an XM-24, large Hinderer. It kind of, let's see. Kind of dwarfs the large Hinderer, but it's only 4.5. Yeah, it is so cool. It's only like 4.5. This one is made by Lion Steel. I think Fox makes a couple of. Well, I know Fox makes a couple other Bastinellis, and they may have taken over the production of this, but this one in particular is a Lion Steel. Friction folder is like a slip joint, just a little different. Yeah. Well, okay. All right. You're giving me good fodder for the fight. Hopefully Spirited Whiskey can jump on and here we go. Oh, what's up, man?
Hang on. Let me try and turn a light on here.
Hey, it's nice to meet you.
Hello.
Hello. Good to have you, sir.
How is everybody?
I'm great. Jim's doing well. And audience, How are y'all doing? How you doing, man?
Living the dream.
Excellent. What part of the country are you in?
Chicagoland area.
Chicago area? Cool.
Yeah.
So what did you have? Oh, wow.
So this is an example of one of those barrel lights.
So is that the is Barrel the label? Is that the brand name or the company? Or
so that's the company, but you can see it's got the Army logo there.
Yeah,
this one is cool. Is modeled after a P-51 plane.
Yeah.
But it's pretty incredible. Look at the Cerakote work, and
that is so cool.
So the ring is that yellow and black piece, and then there's a head, right, which is that shark face on it, and then it's got an incredible button lock, and you can change modes pretty easily. It's got let's see, the red is the backup.
Oh, that's cool.
Anyway, they're pretty sweet.
Oh wait, check the chat. Oh, okay. All right, sounds good. That's beautiful, man. So P-51 was the close air support plane, World War II, and then that same group, which incidentally Slicey Dicey was a member of when he was in the Air Force, that same group now flies the A-10, and they put the same thing on the Warthog, that tiger mouth. It's so cool, man. Yep. That's a beautiful light.
Thanks. Sorry, I'm laid up in the bed tonight because my dog tripped me, and I just nailed my knee on a door on the way in, and so I've got my knee elevated. So sorry.
No problem, man. Take care of that knee. Wait, was it from Reservoir Dogs? Besides getting shot in the stomach, the knee's besides the knee, the stomach's the most painful place to get. Okay.
The kneecaps, man.
Yeah. A weird design. So tell me, what do you want to defend tonight? Are you a slip joint guy, or are you a friction folder guy?
I'll go after the slip joint, the classic slip joint.
Okay. All right. So I'll give you the option of going first if you prefer, or if not, I'll go.
I'll let you go first, and then I'll follow up.
Okay. All right. Well, first, I would like to thank everyone for inviting me to this forum, and I really appreciate the opportunity to tell you why friction folders are clearly superior to the slip joint. And I will say that there's no accounting for taste, so I won't mention about how much better looking friction folders are. That's immaterial to this argument. What I will say is safety counts. And with a friction folder, as long as you're holding it in your hand, which is the only way to use a friction folder, you've got that thing locked open because your thumb, your hand, your grip, your own strength is holding that knife open. And then you have the force against the cutting edge, which will also force the knife into the handle. So for those reasons, and for those, and for many more, which I will not state here, it is clearly the friction folder that is the superior knife. Thank you.
Bob, while I appreciate your candor and your information on friction folders, I got to tell you, there's nothing better than a classic slip joint. Growing up, gosh, from the time I was a Cub Scout and my old man and my granddad, passing down the legendary classic slip joint, Camillus, or whatever the slip joint was that was passed down to you from your family. It's probably the first knife that most people had in their possession that now, in many cases, became knife fans and became into the hobby. And there's something inherently special when you've got that incredible lock, the lock up, the walk and the talk action of that half stop, and how positive that engages, and the feeling of it. There's just something incredibly special about it. And the fact that today we've now got modern makers that are taking the slip joint and bringing them to the next level with the type of finishes, the type of materials that they're being able to use anymore, from the carbon fibers and the micartas and the G-cartas and the original bone, of course, and all the old school stuff, but then all the new school stuff makes them pretty special and pretty unique, I think, today. And then you're able to see people take the old school slip joints, and the makers are modernizing them. And I think it's one of the coolest movements of knives, period, today, is taking the original slip joint and turning them into something completely unique and different. I'll use this as an example. And this is a Jens Anso Monte Carlo custom. And this is basically exactly what I was talking about, where it has an incredible half stop, but it's by way of a double detent. So, you've got something that has a wonderful half stop action and then a wonderful engagement in this just fantastically beautiful hand rub finish in satin that he did on this thing. So, there's this wonderful old school meets new school, and that comes by way of the classic Slippy.
That knife is so ugly.
Yeah.
I'm just kidding. That is such a beaut.
Yeah.
Holy mackerel, man. That's beautiful. Clearly, friction folders are easier to disassemble. Well, that's another one I would have. Clearly, you've won this knife fight. I have to say, I would agree with pretty much everything you said. And as a matter of fact, as you were saying it, I was like, oh yeah, this is the first knife I ever got from my grandfather.
That's a Camelus, right?
This is a, yes, it is a Camelus.
Yeah.
Yep. This thing, I mean, I beat this thing and it's still my favorite awl. If I need to put a hole, I always come back to this awl.
It's unbelievable because we can all look back to that. Like there's a certain sense of the history, but that is you're still able to appreciate it in a modern era.
Yeah.
And that's, I think, what makes them so timeless and so special.
Real Steel Luna, my standard for the modern slip joint. Yeah, that is the beautiful one. That's the one, I think Ostap Held, that's the one that he just designed, and his aesthetic is awesome. I have a maybe 15 GEC. Oh, wow. Look at that, man.
So this is, I just figured I'd bring a couple out for show and tell, one of which is at Monte Carlo. But this is my favorite maker, period, right now, and probably forever will be. But this is Tom Mayo, and this is his incredible TNT medium Bowie. And I mean, he does the best hand rub satin in the business.
That is a stunner, man. That is a stunner. That Bowie blade is gorgeous. Okay, so tell me about Tom Mayo knives. What's so special about that gorgeous thing?
So what I think makes Tom so special is the guy started in 1981. So he's been making knives for a long time, and he started by really getting into the fixed blades of like Bob Loveless, and really falling in love with those designs and the classic nature of a Bowie or a clip point, and a lot of the classic Loveless looks, right? And so he basically he bought a bunch of equipment, not knowing really what he was going to do. He, at the time, was making surfboards. He's from Hawaii. That's right. And a big surfer bum, and making all kinds of other stuff, but he was always using his hands. And he had an affinity for these Bob Loveless designs and said, hey, I'm going to go ahead and use my passion and turn it into something. And what he did was he started to turn it into these beautiful folding knives, and as well as, his incredible fixed blades. And so today, he's really a modern legend, and he's one of the old schoolers. And anyway, his work's incredibly impressive. It's just seamless. And I love that he still uses Teflon washers. And I mean, the thing is just, the action is incredible on these things. They just drop right shut. There's zero resistance. I mean, you can't hear a thing, to these. Lockup's incredible, but everything he does is entirely done by hand.
Really?
From the drilling, the milling, the everything, the hand laid hardware. He does all the screws, and he does every single piece of it by hand. It's not even water jetted. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's just a different skill set than I think is used today, and they're very, very special pieces. It's
like Terzuola, kind of how he does every single thing like that.
That's entirely right.
You see him drawing it out in Sharpie. God damn, that's going to turn into one of his knives.
I got to show you the Terzuola I just got. Hang on.
Yes. Oh my gosh. Okay, so if I were to have a Grail, I mean, it's ever shifting, but definitely a Bob Terzuola ATCF with stag handles. Let's see what he shows. I know Spirited Whiskey has one hell of a. Oh God! Look at that! Look at that! That is such a beaut, man. God,
Roscoe, come here, buddy. Sorry, wife is upset with the dog here.
No,
let's see if I can get it better. I gotta figure out how to work the cameras here. I'm not used to this.
So that that's nice, man. Did you just get that?
This is this is brand new. But I mean, the detail work that he does. I mean, even his logo, tiny little beads.
Yeah,
and his name is on the little lanyard beads. But I mean, there's no hardware on his clips. Everything is heat. He does heat anodization of the liners and the thumb disc. And
God, look at how close the blade comes to the end. It's got like perfect hand to blade ratio there. Like,
look at that.
The blade. Yeah, that's insane.
I can't touch it, which is awesome for safety purposes, right? But Bob Terzuola, he's the granddad, right, of this tactical folder. Him and Mayo are a couple of the OGs. Yeah. But he created this thumb disc is his creation because he wanted it to be,
ambidextrous.
Ambi.
Oh man.
Acid stonewash on that blade.
So fine.
Maker's mark, of course, on there.
Hey, I like those hex bolts on there. That's pretty cool.
So he calls that steampunk. That's his steampunk, and
that's cool.
He does the steampunk look. But yeah, it's just even that. See that inlay right there?
Yeah. It's like this
with his logo. All of that's done by hand. Like he does this little thing entirely by hand.
That's amazing.
Anyway,
so we have we're going to be auctioning off his book and one of these green anodized tie openers and one of his drop collaborations. And we're gonna auction this off and send the money to Knife Rights. I wasn't sure if you were here before, but I was noticing how when you held up yours, they really tried to make the clip look. This is probably like $130 knife or something, but they tried to make it. Yeah, that clip is just something else, man. Beautiful.
And I'll tell you, even if you look on YouTube, there's an awesome video about Bob Terzuola and walking through his shop. Yeah. And they like interviewed him from drop and basically like we're listening to the history of Bob Terzuola, right? And Bob was like, look, this is the first time I've really let anybody outside of the United States. He's a huge advocate, patriot, and advocate of the U.S. Right? Yeah. He's like, and he was very hesitant or reticent to let China touch his stuff. Yeah. But I guess they really convinced him. We really convinced him that it was going to be an epic build. And I'll tell you, a lot of people are stoked about the way that those knives turned out.
They did another one. They did this is the CTF, but they also did their version of the one you've got there in a Tanto point. Was that the ATCF, right?
The ATCF is his original tactical design, right? Yeah, that's the one they did a model of. Bob's are a little larger. Like this is about a 4-inch. It's about a 4-inch blade, and I think the drop ones are a little bit more condensed, kind of, in size. But I think they nailed it, and a lot of people have great things to say about both the ATCF. The ATCF drop I think has a Tanto. Yeah, if I'm not mistaken.
It's a nice looking Tanto too.
Yeah. So. Yeah.
Well, Spirited Whiskey, man, I'm after all your comments over the past weeks. I'm very glad to have met you in person. Love to have you back on in the future if you're interested in coming back on. I'd love to find out more of your collection. I'd love to have you and Alex on at the same time. I think you run in the same.
Too. Yeah. And Alex, it's funny. We have a little knife group. It's actually the group has a lot of people in it, along with some major YouTubers, like Metal Complex and Alex and Neves, and a bunch of those folks are in this group that we chat all hours of the day about nonsense and debauchery, but also mostly about knives and stuff. And it's really funny. But Alex is in there too, and so we've got a little chat group. I'd be happy to do it and talk about stuff I've got coming and things I have and everything else.
Great. Yeah, I'd love to. It turns well, a new dovetail steel insert looks pretty great. I don't think I know that. Is that?
He's talking about the hand laid.
The insert?
Is that what he's talking about? The inlay, the insert?
I'm not sure. No. Keep it going. Dovetail steel insert.
Dovetail steel insert.
Oh, is it in the liner, in the lock interface? Is that what he's talking about? Is there
There is no insert.
Okay.
No, but he does he does all that by hand in the lock bar. It kind of looks like
there's an insert at that from this angle that you're holding it.
Oh, you're right. It sure does, doesn't it?
But that's pretty impressive. What is that? Is that black G10?
You know what? I've never even noticed it, but you might be right. Whoever saw that.
Dovetail, meaning I guess you don't see it from the top.
That may very well be a dovetailed insert.
So it slipped in there without the use of. That's pretty cool.
I was looking for a flashlight.
Oh, I can see it. Oh, he showed it on his Instagram. Okay.
It is. It sure is.
That's rad.
It's a little hard to see without. I don't have the flashlight in the room with me, but yeah, it's in there.
All right, guys. Well, I think that's me, man. I think I just hit a wall. And
thanks, everybody.
Hey, again, Spirited Whiskey, man. Again, thanks for coming on. And your argument, you took it seriously, and you gave a great. You're probably like some high-powered lawyer, and I had no idea what I was getting into. Nicely done, sir.
I'm in the booze business, so.
Oh, even better.
Yeah.
I mean, way better. So bourbon.
I to look at that light, by the way, in a little better light.
That's beautiful, man.
Pretty incredible.
Yeah.
Anyway, thanks again, everybody.
All right, my pleasure. Spirited Whiskey. Have a good one, man. Matthew Lee, thank you, sir. It's been a pleasure. And that about does it for this edition of Thursday Night Knives. I want to thank Spirited Whiskey for coming on and joining me and defeating me in the knife fight. That was most excellent. Like, comment, subscribe, share this video, and I hope you enjoyed it enough to do that. Share it with your knife friends and whoever else might be interested. For Jim, behind the switcher, working his magic, I'm Bob the Knife Junkie DeMarco, saying please don't take dull for an answer.